likely to be killed by cops than white men.
They don't want us to succeed.
How much more do we have to take?
Yo.
And makes a bunch of fucking
hold your horses. Yeah, because there's a lot of shit that needs to be talked. For real. But we are here. We are queer. There's gonna be lots of shit we gonna get into. Y'all don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. We're back. Thank you for tuning in. The Leon Block is back and welcome. Happy to have you. I'm Jontel, your kinfolk with the info. So what's going on today? Today we have J. Eric Fisher, as he's known on Facebook. Here to spit some facts, some opinions, and advising you of things maybe you should be aware of, what's going on locally here in the community that we both live in. And yeah, let's get into it. I have one question for y'all, for my viewers watching. Where does your money go? Do you know where your money goes? Do you care where your money goes? Do you care how that money that you put towards things, has an effect on you? Because those are very important, imperative questions that one should actually be asking themselves, especially in today's society. So again, I have a guest today. Jay, welcome yourself to the Leon Block. I'm happy to have you.
Jay, I just want you to call me Eric.
Okay.
Just Eric.
Eric.
Friends call me Eric.
Gotcha.
Thank you for including that, Jay. How you doing? Good to be with you today. Thanks for having me.
Likewise.
I'm not on camera, right?
No.
All right.
No
this is my first
camera,
time doing
just
anything
audio
of this nature. It's good to be here with you. Did you want me to say something?
So we can just get right into it. I really want to talk about first your let's set the stage real quick, because you were born here?
I was not born here. I was born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. My family moved here when I was 5.
Okay.
My dad is a retired pastor, and at the time he was placed in a church in Millersville where we set up shop and stayed for the duration.
So you have background and understanding of being involved with the church and the religious entities here in the county.
I gotta be clear. My church growing up was not homophobic, actively homophobic. The ELCA, the Lutheran Church, has had its journey, so it was not perfect. But my experience in church, I think, was very different than many Lancastrians' experience with church. Now, I will say I've learned that I've grown up with friends who were with faith communities that were much more progressive than mine. But there was no active LGBTQ harm happening in my church.
Okay, so you spent most of your time here in Lancaster, most of your life in Lancaster, right? Or Lancaster area.
So moved here when I was 5, kindergarten, stayed, pretty much till I was 18 through high school, Penn Manor, class of 1996.
Woo woo.
But I loved, I really did and do love Lancaster, and so, through college, I spent my summers here every summer. I worked in Lancaster every summer. As I was, leaving undergrad and traveling and setting up shop. I lived in London for a while. I lived in New York for a very long while. I lived in LA for a while. But throughout all of that, I would come back for good stretches of time in Lancaster.
So this is where your roots are planted, and so
my roots were planted. And it's important to me. I think, this is sort of a lowbrow reference, but, in our final years in Brooklyn, we used to watch Who Do You Think You Are a lot. I don't know if you've ever watched that show, but it's like the Ancestry.com. Like,
oh, yes, I do remember that show. Yes.
I enjoyed it.
I did too.
If you watched it a lot, you know that whenever there was like a white celebrity, you go all the way back to like Jesus time. But whenever there was a black or brown celebrity, but specifically a black celebrity,
always had to focus on slavery.
Well, you just couldn't go any further. You just couldn't get
there,
any. And one actress, I wish I could remember who it was because I want to watch her words again, but she talked about growing up in a southern state that she found hard to be in and how everyone should be able to go home. Her words resonated with me so much because I was so ready and wanting to be able to go home. And I knew that in some ways I was facing sort of similar issues that she was in terms of home community, perhaps not being safe for us. And her sentiment was something like, everyone should be able to go home. And that's what brought us back. My husband Mark and I had
let me I want to say this, like, I'm guessing like part of that that yearning for that sense of community and whatnot, and just seeing a sense of the world is what brought you to Brooklyn. So I heard you mention Brooklyn, and you were there for a good period of time to witness the waves of gentrification that swept through, right? And is that where you met Mark?
Yeah, Mark was living in Manhattan. I was living in Brooklyn, but yeah, technically Manhattan. We met in Manhattan, but I was living in Brooklyn that whole time.
So being in Brooklyn and seeing like different things and experiencing different things, and then seeing how like gentrification, for example, had an effect. And there's a point I'm bringing that up because we'll get to that a little down the road. But is that part of what drove you back to come back to Lancaster?
Yeah, let me just say, and this stands through our entire conversation and any conversation we ever have. Okay. Mark and I are white, cisgender, financially stable, secure people So if I talk about any of these issues, it's really to say that if we feel these issues, whether it's gentrification or homophobia, transphobia, if we feel them, then I deeply believe that there's just so much more lying underneath the surface. So yeah, I mean, we lived a sweet life in Brooklyn. I mean, when I met Mark, I was a school teacher, not earning a lot of money, but loving my life. Mark is just in a different world. And so we had a really sweet life together in Brooklyn. But yeah, the truth is, for many families, sort of even in our income bracket, and I think this is something that Lancaster should be thinking about a little bit more, is that you'll be surprised. People are surprised at how quickly it happens and how many people find that like simply growing their family prices them out. Yeah. And so, you know, I mean, there were many reasons we left Brooklyn, but one of them was definitely that in order for us to stay and sort of raise a family comfortably, we would have had to really like re-enter parts of the city that we just didn't really want to go to at that point in our lives. So yeah, we wanted to come back to Lancaster and have like a better work-play balance. And my parents are here, and my cousins, my aunt, my uncle, no uncles, cousins, you know, people have died. But you know, we wanted our kid to be, you know, surrounded by family.
No, I totally get that, and I think I'm grateful that you have that. Personally, I know you, so I understand where you're coming from. You're not just saying, I have these things, you know? Because for someone of my generation, let's throw color out of it, but my generation, we're just opting out or pushing that off because we don't have the financial means. And then you add gentrification into it. We don't have the means to be able to settle into the kind of communities that, you know, Lancaster touts itself to be. And I want to make that clear. I said touts itself to be because we will get to that in a moment as well. So I wanted to kind of paint a picture of leading us up to why we're here today to begin with, because there's a lot of purpose and meaning behind this, and I feel that there's a lot of drive and passion behind why you feel so passionate about this, but why it's important, not only for our community, our greater LGBTQIA plus community, but people in general, especially people that have children, people that care about donating, human rights, giving back to your community, and understanding the integral part that you play just as one person, one being in a community, and how all of our collective beingness adds up to really changing the sphere of our world and our local bubble. And if we all moved here for a reason, whether you're a gentrifier, you're a colonizer, you're poor, whatever, you moved here for a reason, you want to protect that. But it's also, in this day and age, hard to stay informed. And I will say, without a doubt, for people that are listening or people that are aware or not aware, you have been throwing out receipts and facts like no tomorrow, like hotcakes. And I commend you for that. I think it's extremely important, extremely imperative, though, also, that people soak that up and listen to it, which is why I brought you on, because it's important for that to be amplified. You cannot do it alone. We all need to take this on to understand that we need to be fully informed to make well-rounded decisions, whether you're a parent or whether you're just someone who just cares about your community. You want to be well informed. Again, it's hard to stay that way. It's hard to be well informed in our society, but that is why I commend you so much. So, Eric, I know you got a lot of facts. You got a lot of information. Let's just get right into it. We are talking about extra give, and we really want to get into. I'm just going to straight up ask you, why should we not give to extra give, or it's deeper than that, right?
Yeah, I think yeah.
And what is extra give? Let me start off simply.
The extra give is Lancaster County's annual day of giving. I mean, we see these all over the place. You know, I think brought to us by the, you know, increased availability of technology and platforms online. I mean, I have to say, I'll rewind about the extra give. So, you know, again, like, I was not living here in 2012 when the extra give started, but I was here regularly, and especially around the holidays. So
it started in 2012.
2012.
So they're coming up on their 10 years.
This is their 10th year, right? I always feel like that should be 2012 to 2022, but that's not how it goes, right? That's 10 years. 2012 to 2021 is 10 years, so it's their 10th year. It's important to say, I think, that there were folks here in Lancaster when I was not, that were already, you know, quietly or not so quietly talking about some of the problems with the extra give. I was not the first one.
Okay. Make note of that, y'all.
And that those people have reached out and shared their stories about facilitating extra gives for their organization. A lot of the problems that I hear about from those early years are the component of pass through. So your funds don't go directly to the org that you're giving to. They do pass through the LCCF. They sit in LCCF's bank account for 30 to 60 days.
Why?
I don't understand that.
And do they take a chunk of that money?
They do not take the money. They say they don't take the money. I don't see them taking the money.
So why the hell do they hold it?
I think it's just a technicality because of the way the give functions. You know, again, like if you give direct, you can go to your favorite org's website. Most of them have a Give Now link. Like there is nothing special or remarkable about doing it through the Extra Gives platform. You know, they want to get us tied into the stretch dollars and the prize monies. That's problematic. We can talk about that.
Right. Yes.
But I think what people were noticing was the pass through. When you give your money to your favorite organization through LCCF, you relinquish your ability to designate how you want those funds to be used. So if you give directly to an organization, my understanding is that this is not my focus, so it's my understanding that you are able to designate how you want those funds to be used. Another issue there is sort of that question of like, no, they don't profit from it. But if you have a couple million, what is it each year? You know, if you have that amount of money sitting in an account for 2 months, there is some interest that's coming up from it. And then one of the other big criticisms from those early years was related to the credit card and processing fees, which now, you know, as a donor, you're able to say, like, I'm going to cover those costs. I have facilitated 2 extra gives for 2 small nonprofits, partly because I wanted to experience, you know, what those smaller organizations experience. And I can tell you that the first year I did a give, facilitate an extra give for a nonprofit, was the first year that donors had the option to cover the cost of credit card and processing fees. My recollection was it was 2.99% that year. It's 4.99% this year. But back then, which was like 2018, I believe, was the first year that you were able to do that. And for the 2 organizations that I facilitated the give for, I can say that the stretch dollars covered the cost of those fees that our donors did not cover themselves. So it was a wash. If you write an organization a check, there is no credit card processing fees involved. So every cent of your money goes straight to them.
So I want to highlight that real quick. It just seems like going through the main thing is just problematic to begin with. The whole part that they're promoting to begin with, all of that is problematic. If you just follow the people that are supporting it, is what I'm understanding, and just donate directly to them.
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, I think if you talk to anyone at a community benefit organization and you ask them which would you prefer, a one-time donation or a monthly recurring one, even if it's the same amount net, right? Like, so like I'm going to give $5 a month, or I'm going to give 12 times 5 all at once. Right. I think most nonprofits, I mean, this is what I learned in church growing up. I mean, I don't remember a lot from my dad's sermons. Sorry, Dad. But I do remember every year, Suzanne especially would get up and talk about giving and the meaning of giving and why we give and how we give. And having that sustainable year-long giving is very powerful.
Emphasis on give, because we talk about giving a lot. Give, Thanksgiving, extra give. But how much are they giving?
I lost where we were.
Oop, I was preaching my sermon. You gave me the Holy Ghost real quick.
The giving, the anyway, I think I was saying there are a lot of problems. When I moved here, I felt like this organism, this extra give, was getting, you know, I can't say this as a fact. I can say that let me just double check here before I say this. What I can say for a fact is that I have, you know, entered into my little like Google Sheets the financials for 174 of the 500 and some organizations. I've their gives from 2012 to 2019. I've got some for 2020, And I feel these numbers when you're entering in each number by hand, you know, year over year, and you're looking at these organizations' names, you're seeing certain patterns develop.
Right.
You're seeing lots of zeros in the early years from organizations who didn't join in later. You're seeing patterns. And what you can see is that that the LCCF is telling the truth when they say like this gets bigger every year. They're absolutely right. It is getting bigger. But my understanding growing up was that giving was not about besting or biggest.
Right.
You know, it's quality over quantity,
Right.
my friends, quality over quantity. And what's very clear when you enter in all the numbers is that the numbers have grown for two reasons. Reason number one is that organizations like the Water Street Mission or Lancaster Bible College, who were each bringing in, you know, 50,000, give or take in 2012, are now bringing in closer to like 500,000 a year. Well, LBC 215, 240. But those organizations like Water Street Mission, Lancaster Bible College, with conservative religious Christian thought, those organizations continue steadily to bring in more year after year. They never waver. It never goes down. They only bring in more each year. They've figured it out. They know how to play the system to get the money.
Let me ask you this. What is the average for not those organizations, but everybody else?
Yeah, so as you you know, as I'm like literally scrolling through my spreadsheet right now,
especially like queer, you know, organizations and people of color organizations.
I mean,
I'm curious.
If we're looking at LGBTQ, BIPOC, non-Christian refugees, immigrants, you know, those organizations I think are lucky to bring in $40,000 a year.
Wow.
We have some outliers, but most of the organizations, you know, 58 of the 520 or so organizations that participate, 58 of the 520 or so organizations bring in over $100,000. All the rest bring in less than that.
Wow.
Honestly, the vast majority of the organizations I think are bringing in under $50,000 a year. And the way the stretch pool, I mean, I feel like we're all over the map, but stretch pool, the way that stretch pool works is whatever percentage of the total give your organization brings in, that is the percentage of the stretch dollars that you will get. So we know that organizations that are already financially strong and that year over year continue to do better and better, they get the majority of those stretch funds. Very little of those funds are designated because it's just sort of this. I should pull up that webpage just to make sure I'm using the right language. That's the general gist on the stretch funds. The other way the give gets bigger and bigger is that we have more and more organizations participating.
That's true too.
The quality of the spectrum of orgs has not necessarily improved or changed, just the number of orgs. And what we can see when you look at the spreadsheet as you enter in every numbered, you know, dollar by dollar, organization by organization, is you can see that the organizations that are joining the tradition in 2015, 2016 are overwhelmingly white, conservative, Christian organizations.
Woo!
I also, and
not surprising.
I don't have any real facts or conclusions to say about what I'm about to say, but you know, we often hear our city talk about the struggle of having 30% of our organizations downtown being nonprofits. Well, we certainly aren't helping that any. It just feels like we're creating a culture where, like, just make your own. I mean, I'll say, you know, you can see as you enter in dollar by dollar too, and you start looking at the tax returns, you can see that there are organizations that are participating under two different names with the same EIN number. Now, that's not super common, but I found a couple of those. I mean, again, I should just, if I inputted all those numbers, I could find them all. You have organizations that are still participating that have been sued for having poor practices in the past. They might disappear for a year or two, but they come right back.
Like a boomerang.
Come right back. Well, because there's no vetting process. I mean, there's one piece of vetting, and I believe that is that you must have an organization, in order to participate, must have an audit. And in order to have an audit, you need to be in existence for 1 year. So there are definitely some orgs this year who are not able, even if they wanted to participate because of that. But I can also say that It would seem that there are some orgs that somehow were able.
I was about to say, aren't there orgs that slipped through the cracks and were able to?
I can't say for sure, right? Because
Right.
I don't have like their documents showing when they became a 501c3. But I see orgs that anecdotally, having been living in Lancaster at the time of their origin, it would not seem to me that they had the year to get that. I'm not here to make
that's
any
not
false claims.
Yeah, that's not the focus anyway. But so I want is what other issues as far as money do you think is a big issue when it comes to extra give?
Every dollar donated. All right, let's just go back to that stretch goal just
Yeah.
to make sure I got it right.
Yeah.
If your organization receives 3% of the total donations raised by all organizations participating in the extra give, then your organization will receive 3% of the stretch pool. Or, you know, if you are like the LBCs or the Water Street Missions or the Delaware Dogs, and you bring in a much higher percentage, which I have that data somewhere, I'm not going to find it, then, you know, you're bringing in a much larger percentage of that stretch pool. For me, the spirit of giving and the spirit of what the extra give is meant to be about would say, well, we don't just give this, you know, we don't give it on this sort of percentage basis that the winners win more and the losers win less. We should be saying we are here to educate our community on how to cultivate community benefit organizations that are really here to serve all. And so just like we want to give to the most vulnerable, we should be finding ways to give those stretch dollars and prize monies disproportionately to organizations that struggle.
Agreed.
Disproportionately to organizations that serve those of us who are disproportionately at so many risks in our livelihoods. So there is, I don't believe that there is anything Christian about Christianity is a Lancaster value. It is a Lancaster value, and I am not anti-Christian. I am not anti-Christian, but I am here to say that while there are many denominations of Christianity in Lancaster, I can parse them into two basic groups for my concerns, and that is those who are looking to be open and affirming of people, all kinds of people around them, and those who want to affirm just themselves. Just themselves. And so we should not be proclaiming extraordinary community when we are just giving our money, our collective money, to people that already have it. We should be looking for ways that we incentivize and create a structure around the extra give that helps those organizations that are struggling. You know, one, I don't know a lot, you know, I really don't actually, there's only so much I know, but Crispus Attucks, you know, when I moved to Lancaster, I was close to someone who was working there. You know, they are a Black, historically Black-led, Black-founded community benefit organization. You know, call me out, folks who are listening who know more, put it in the comments. But they had to merge, I believe, with CAP a few years ago. When you look at their numbers, you see that year after year, should I just put them up? Let me just
go right ahead.
Sort my column from A to Z. Where are you, Crispus? Yeah. So they participated. They got a real good, for 2012, for the figures that people were bringing in 2012, Crispus Attucks did pretty well in 2012, $27,402. The next year was $20,000 even, which is interesting to me. That might have been a grant. That might not have been the extra give. I cannot pull that data apart in the.
That's interesting.
But then it's like 6,000, 13,000. They were not able to sustain themselves. And so here's part of my original critique. My original critique had little to do with LGBTQ people. My original critique was, how can we let these historic organizations like Crispus Attucks, how can we let them, you know, they didn't die, they had to merge, but to me, we should have them thrive as they were. And if we were finding a way to, you know, highlight 5 to 10 organizations each year that really need us and to really take the time to use the platform to educate our community why Crispus Attucks is actually really necessary for all of us. We should all need and want Crispus Attucks and organizations like them to thrive. Let's find ways to, instead of just throwing stretch dollars by percentage, we need to find ways to structure the extra give to make sure that organizations like Crispus Attucks are getting like a nice chunk of money one year that might help them get out of the red, that might help them
Yes.
hire extra staff, that might help them bring in a grant writer so that they can grow and thrive and sustain themselves.
Talk about it.
And, you know, I don't have a list of the organizations, but I've asked, you know, people on social media to share the organizations, the community benefit organizations.
Yes, I did share a list, and I will share it to the Leon Block. Excuse me. If we really care about values here, like we talk about, and that's emphasis on the word values, because if we really care about our community, that's a great example, like you said, holding up like 5 really good entities, organizations that really need that extra give.
Give them an extra staff person for 2 months. You know, find a crew of volunteers and interns. Make that infrastructure for them. Too many organizations, and I've heard this from the mouths of the people who work at them that do not feel comfortable saying it out loud themselves. They drop their actual programming. The actual things that many of these CBOs do to support our community, they have to put aside, either fully or partially, so that they can facilitate the extra give. They do not get to continue to do everything they want to do. They just have to kind of like scrape and race. And we know there are some organizations that are well connected, new organizations that are able to do that very well. But it's very clear that for a lot of small nonprofits, they do not have the capacity to participate in the way that a Lancaster Bible College does, who has like a full-time team of like
massive,
I don't know how many people, but
monolith
plenty.
yeah.
So you're asking about money though.
Yes, because I wanted to get to the next piece of this, why it's so damaging to the queer community, the LGBTQIA plus community.
Say it again.
Why is this so damaging to the LGBTQIA plus community?
I mean, so that's the thing, right? So I have to say I was shocked. I was shocked, actually. Sometimes I'm shocked and I can't believe I'm shocked. I was shocked to see conversion therapy orgs in the extra give when I started to look closer. Now, I am understanding that maybe folks at LCCF, maybe folks at LNP are not feeling like there's enough to verify that these orgs do conversion therapy. For me, there's enough. If you look at the body of work out there, the documentaries, the journalism around conversion therapy and how from the 70s until today it has evolved and changed, and they rebrand and remarket and rebrand and remarket, and they just basically repackage their same old crap with new names that enables them to say like, oh, we don't do conversion therapy. No, we just help people with their unwanted same-sex attraction.
Right.
Okay. But
right.
So that's problematic.
Yeah.
That's problematic. The problem is, for me, is that an overwhelming number of these organizations are anti-LGBTQ in policy and practice. And the impact, listen, again, I am white, middle-aged, financially secure, cisgender, married. I can feel it though. As soon as I moved back to Lancaster, I felt it in my everyday life. I felt it in, like, when I was looking for a doctor, when I was looking for a pediatrician, if you're looking for a therapist, if you're looking for a house painter, an electrician, if you're wondering, you know, if you're going to need the cops, or you think about it all the time. And if you don't think about it, then I think you're lucky, but I don't think that means the problem isn't there. I think a lot of my white LGBTQ nibblings in town don't necessarily see it. And I am not necessarily here to make them see it, because if they're living in their polished little palace, then I'm here for their sense of safety. But the fact is that resources are really hard to find. Informed and affirming resources are hard to find. It's hard to even know if anyone even knows what it means. I mean, I've had, you know, people identify as liberal or dem, you know, use the word homosexual to describe me in casual conversation, which I can't even tell you the last time I heard that happen.
Right.
So it's really not about LCCF or the give for me in terms of LGBTQ issues. It's that they provide a really easy example of how in Lancaster, I think we have friends and neighbors who are welcoming to LGBTQ people, and want so badly to be able to say, like, this is a welcoming place. Like, I have a friend, I have a cousin, oh, my brother's gay. They're happy. But the truth, and that's great. That's a feeling. That's a feeling. So I'm glad that you feel that we're welcome. I'm glad that some of our LGBTQ nibblings feel welcome, but the truth is that we lack protections here. We know, we were just talking about it, right? We know that in 1991, when some local activists who are still around and kicking and doing good work, we know that 1991, when they asked the city to include LGBTQ people as a protected class, what was then a joint city-county human relations commission, and had always been a joint city-county human relations commission for like 37 years. They dissolved that partnership, and that was when we got a city HRC and a county HRC. Later in 2010, when locals pushed again, activists come out. We always have activists come out. Lancaster does always have activists come out. In 2010, when locals came out to encourage LGBTQ protections to our county HRC, the county HRC, led by Scott Martin at that time, disbanded the whole entire thing. Now, they said it was about the money, but the net is that they threw the baby out with the bathwater, and in order to not include queer people, they threw it all out, all of it out. Wow. So we just don't have, and so we have a city that is trying. I do believe, I have plenty of critiques for our city and our city leadership. Our city is trying to cultivate a welcoming and safe space.
They're trying. I'll give them that. Yeah.
They know that that millennials and that our future economy are going to be largely dependent on an inclusive workforce. That the younger people and the new economy is going to be diverse. It's going to be inclusive. If Lancaster wants to stay in the game, we got to stay in the game, and we don't get to do that by creating position statements, commissions, committees, you know, that are printed and published in the newspaper with great fanfare, and then you don't hear from them again. You're lucky, maybe next year you'll hear from them, but largely we put these statements out, we put them in the paper. We create a history of welcoming, but we never follow through to say, like, well, what happened with that effort a year later? For example, in 2015, the Lancaster Chamber came out strong and powerful to say, we know that the research says that if we want to be a thriving economy, we need to be an inclusive, diverse workforce. And so we are here as the Lancaster Chamber to say, we endorse, our position is that we should have non-discrimination policies on a state level here in the state of Pennsylvania for LGBTQ people, which we do not have. They haven't really talked about it much since. That people get very angry at me when I call them out for that, but they say themselves that this is what needs to be done. I am not asking I don't ask people to do things that they didn't already say they want to do. That's what's astounding to me. Whether it's Lancaster County Community Foundation, the city of Lancaster, elected officials, community leaders, community benefit orgs. I tried asking Lancaster Bible College to change their ways, and I realized how futile that was. No, I really did. I went and met with Peter Teague twice. I think it is actually Teague. That didn't go anywhere. I only ask people and orgs and entities to do what they already said they were doing. That's it. And that's it.
I commend you for your effort.
Thanks.
But I mean, you can't do this alone. This is why this is an outlet for information, to inform people to get their boots on the motherfucking ground, because this is something indicative of, I'm sure, of this resonates with people all over. I'm sure this is something that you're probably dealing with in your own area of the country or world, that if you're listening. So if you need some, there's some right there too, right behind. Yeah, because you was bumping them gums.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I was going for it.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, I
get into that zone. I actually don't remember what I said.
So so I'm just trying to gather everything together real quick to put this in a Jontelism for people to grasp in that sense. So money is speculatory. Remember, just follow the money and ask those questions. Where should I direct the money to, and what's the best way to donating? The best way to donating would be directly to that organization. And I mean, if you're looking for a specific donation organization that you see as a part of this thing, why not just donate directly to them to help support them? And secondly, so we spoke on conversion therapy, and how just like racist rhetoric and laws and things to justify those laws have been slathered with, like, now it's dog whistles and titles have changed, but it's still the same game. It's the same thing when it comes to conversion therapy. You might be told it's one thing, but it's still exactly what it is.
Amen. Amen. You know who knows? The people that have to experience it, you know? So, like, it's not
Right.
surprising to me that the straight white people that represent these orgs don't know it. But you bring up, I just think, like, intersecting the Black and brown, indigenous, LGBTQ, Asian Pacific Island, bring us all together, because we need to stay together in this. Because I think underneath it all, I don't think that LCCF is like, you know, sitting at a closed door meeting, like, what is this, twiddling their fingers and like planning their evil. But what they're doing subtly is dividing us, I think. And what we need to remember is that LCCF, after the death of after the murder of George Floyd, they filled their pages with lots of resources, lots and lots and lots of words. I mean, again, it's like bigger is better to them. You know, the more they post, the more one-off sessions they have, the better they can feel about themselves.
But I mean, check this. It's always about the money. So the money in capitalism drives that hunger to constantly grow. And let's face it, like, a lot of churches go unchecked. A lot of religious organizations go unchecked. And that mentality of, you know, the ideology or whatever of religion helps drive that. And then we're left shut. Stay out of it. This is our business. And we're like, oop, okay. But I think you really have to ask yourself those questions, especially for the people living in the city. I get that county and city, like, I don't know, for people who are from other areas and are listening, there's a big dynamic between the county and the city here. And I'm sure that goes the same for other areas too.
Little off topic, but connecting to what you're saying there. There is this city and county divide, and it's always been there. I think city folk really like to characterize themselves as being sort of above and beyond the county, and the county folk kind of get upset about that. And we're all like posturing and playing, but the truth is that in a place like Lancaster, I feel pretty safe saying this, in a place like Lancaster, you know, you can't be a marginalized person and just live in the city, you know, and thrive in the city. It just, not everything you need is downtown. There aren't enough, you know, mental health professionals downtown, medical.
That's for sure.
I mean, you have to engage with the county at large, and whether you're BIPOC, LGBTQ, whatever your marginalized identities are, the moment you leave the county, things shift and change. I guess that's all I want to say there. I feel like I had something. I lost it.
You lost it?
I don't know where this idea that a political boundary keeps us safe, you know, it's just not actually true. We know that, you know, that county folk love to work in the city. We know that county folk love to come and play and celebrate in the city. So no one gets a free pass in the city. We are not safe from the bigotry that might be more centered in the county. I don't even know if that's true. But there's certainly no like safe space downtown magically because you've crossed a political boundary from county to city.
Yeah.
What are you doing on that thing?
This is the background. So I really I wanted to gather all that together and bring us back up to speed here real quick. Yeah. So we're at values, and I really just wanted to pinpoint everything that we've gathered here. And so what are the pinpoints of what you are really addressing here? Like, bing, bang, boom. This is what it is. This is what you should do. Because I really want to get at, like, for one, let's put it this way. Gatekeeping and solutions, because that's what I see, you know?
So, I mean, I just think that that the extra give is harmful more than it is helpful. I believe that it has the potential to be something greater, and so I encourage people to find a way to pressure LCCF to do something better, and not just to have it be around an uploaded non-discrimination policy. I want to see the whole thing turned upside down. You know, I think it would be amazing if we could say as a community, look, we have created this thing over the last 10 years that is clearly, you know, sizable and significant, and now we want to make it deep and meaningful. We want to be the community that says that, like, we can take that next challenge and make something better of it, and not through the easiest methods possible. So I encourage you to give direct. That is my line.
Yes.
I know some people aren't giving to orgs that participate at all. I know that some people are giving to orgs through the give so that they can get whatever prize dollars they want. And also maybe writing to LCCF. I mean, I am here for all of it, but I do think that the best solution is to give direct. I think that we need to also look at what the Extra Give and Lancaster County Community Foundation are demonstrating for us here is a pattern in Lancaster. And that pattern is that if the Ku Klux Klan is coming to town, plenty of people will stand up and sing a song or stand in silence and solidarity. When those big moments happen, Lancaster activists stand up.
Yes.
It's the times in between. You know, I don't think we can be
Right.
shocked when Bousman sets up a shop at a farm for white nationalists, knowing what we know about sort of what we foster here.
Talk about it.
We need Christians to say, you know, we're not all the same, and it is okay to call out bigoted Christian belief systems.
Yes.
I think that we have a historic tradition of sort of demurring to all Christians. Like, well, if it's Christian, then it's good because it's Lancaster, and so we can't say anything bad about Water Street Mission or Lancaster Bible College or WJTL or Line Life Ministries. Line Life Ministries. If you care about women's health, then you do not give to Line Life Ministries.
I think that's part of the problem is like people's fear of calling this stuff out because it has to do with.
There, bingo. No one gets anything for free. LCCF will say your participation is free. This is free. This is free. This doesn't cost you anything. It all costs you something. If you're getting money from someone, it costs you something. And
Yes.
The pattern that I notice is that the heads of these community benefit organizations do not feel that they can survive as an organization if they speak out against the extra give. We know that LCCF gives grant monies to individuals and orgs all year long. We know that it's kind of hard to call out the organization that gave you the money.
Right.
So they get to continue to use our pictures, our faces, our smiles, our community to signal a diversity that does not exist within the organization and does not exist within the numbers of the extra give. They get to continue to sort of perpetuate that because we're all sort of, our hands are tied. I think that too many organizations know that if they speak out, it will not go well for them. And that we need our local activists to not just stand up when the Klan comes to town. We need them to call it out again and again and again. Because as we know from Black rights, it ain't coming quick and it ain't all come yet at all. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't come quick and it hasn't yet come at all. And how much longer are we all going to wait? How much longer are we all going to wait so that we can be nice to these people who we know aren't being nice to us? We know they aren't. We know that Lancaster Bible College is using their power and their money and frankly their connections to many of the organizations in the extra give, like the PA Family Association /Council / Independent Law Firm. That's not the right name, Jamie Beth. But we know that they are actively working against our rights. They do not want equality for all. They do not want it. And the numbers show us that we're just giving them more and more power here. We can't have it both ways. If we want to be a welcoming, diverse, inclusive community, then we need to stop requiring marginalized people to sit with their oppressor just to have a seat at the table.
Oh my God, that's gold.
That is how it works here. These big organizations will say, oh, but we let you queers have a seat at the table. Yeah, and I have to sit next to the person who believes that my marriage is inherently sinful or that the color of my skin makes me less than you.
Imagine how that yuckiness will make you feel.
I commend the people in our communities that can sit in those spaces and do anything. I cannot.
Yeah.
My line is I am not sitting next to If I want to be part of Leadership Lancaster, I won't, because I am not sitting next to someone who is actively working to kill my marriage. Frankly, that's what people are doing right now. They want to roll back,
brother.
Getting married. We know that wasn't the right fight to take on in the first place, but we don't want to lose it now.
Yeah. I just urge people to really pay attention. Like he said, we cannot lose this drive that we had, and we've come far. We've come really far. So at this point in time, I think it's really important to be very perceptive. Open your eyes, question things, follow the money. Like I say, follow the money. Something that we touched on the other day, it was a phrase that stuck in my head. Funneling money to further the dividing classes. Preservation of values. And that has a double meaning, because in this situation, they're preserving their values, which is in direct confliction with our values and the exact reason why we're contributing to this in the first place. They're taking advantage of our perception of our values to help foster and bolster their values. That's my takeaway.
I mean, I'm not going downtown tomorrow. I do not want to be a part of it.
Nope.
But if you go downtown, I am sure you are going to see diverse bodies taking on leadership or performance roles as part of the celebration downtown. It's going to be so diverse, I tell you. There are going to be so many queer people, so many Black and brown people singing, speaking, celebrating. And that is, there is something fabulous about that.
Yes.
But we're doing it for our masters, because, we're like, well, please just let us get 30K this year. Please just let us get 30K.
There's a different way that you can dance for the gods. Like, I'm just saying.
I'm here for that.
You know what I mean? Like, and there's a way to be a Christian, and then there's a way to be a Christian.
If it feels too good to be true, it probably is not true, right?
Woo!
If it feels good, if it's a feel-good moment, then that's probably all it is a feel-good moment. And listen, you know what? If we want to have the biggest day of giving so that we can say, just got to say it. I can say it. So we can say, like, look, our dick is bigger than yours. Like, if that is how we are measuring our value, then fine, Lancaster, do it. Mm-hmm. Do it. Throw your big dick around and bring in the biggest amount of money. Hey, we can get even bigger. Why don't you get Bowsman involved next year? If you want that number to go out, let's just bring in the Ku Klux Klan. Like, if you want that number to keep getting bigger, you can do that. But don't frame it as extraordinary community, and don't say the things, oh my gosh, the things that LCCF will say, like, well, we're not extraordinary until we're extraordinary for everyone. They say it so much that everyone believes it, but it's just not true. You don't get to do those things without doing the work first. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for integrity. I'm asking for the work to be done. I talk too much, Jontel.
No, you on the money with it, just killing it, spitting gems, and exactly like, no, people need to hear this. They seriously need to hear this and understand his point of view, because I'm sure it will resonate with a lot of people. I'm pretty sure that, like, people's eyes have been opened up to this. I have some questions for you, and just give like dead answers. You ain't got to get into detail.
Great.
What can be done?
What can be done?
Personally, not like as an umbrella.
You as a person, when the individual's listening, wherever you are, especially in Lancaster County, when you're getting involved with organizations that have stated publicly that they're interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion, then I need you to look closely and make sure that's actually happening.
Right.
I need you to educate the people around you that under the umbrella of DEI, inclusion does not mean include everybody. That's not what it means. That's not what it means. Lancaster County leaders, white leaders, believe that inclusion just means bringing everyone to the table, including those with bigoted thoughts. Mm-hmm. Some, like Leadership Lancaster, will go so far as to say, so we can learn and grow from each other. Well, I am not here to learn from someone who believes I can be turned from gay to straight. Right. But your question was, what can you do? No matter what organization you're getting involved in, If they are saying that they're doing DEI work, I want you to look. I want you to look at their board. I want you to look at their employees. I want you to look at their statements. I want you to look at their practice. If you are entering a space where you are collaborating with these people and organizations, I want you to hold them accountable in each and every micro moment.
Boom. I was gonna say nothing's ever solved. Why?
Because we're humans.
Got that right.
Capitalism.
Capitalism.
I used to teach lots of ages, but I used to teach, small kids, and we would talk about, I have so many problems about what I'm about to say. We can unpack it. I'm here to be critiqued. But we would talk, I taught at a school that actually didn't want to talk about the truth of Martin Luther King. They wanted the sanitized version.
Right.
And so I refused to do that. And I'm sure I didn't always get it right, but I continue to grow. But I would say, the answer to them is that this is part of being human. There's something about these ways that we all posture and seek power that is just, frankly, it's clearly part of being human. But the part of being human that we need to make sure that we're fostering and cultivating is the part that fights back.
Yes.
That I say to my students, you can say to students as young as early childhood, like, it's our job to resist that yes, there's something human, and kids know it because they are experiencing it in their own social circles. There's something human about wanting to have power and control, and as part of our responsibility to make sure that we are working against that collectively, and that we all have a role in that. Today was with students at a local school, and they were getting upset because they were getting physically aggressive, and I was trying to help mediate that, and they were like, I didn't do it. I was like, I don't care who did it or who didn't do it. We all have a collective role to play in creating a peaceful world. So if you were involved or not involved, if you saw it, you were involved. You see something, say something. We can all play a part in this. Yeah, it's never going to end, Jontel.
Yes or no? Are there orgs we can trust here locally and just donate straight to?
I mean, everyone can have their own opinion on that. My opinion on that. I mean, we each have different lines. For me, my line is I'm really disappointed in a lot of the social justice oriented CBOs that are participating this year who are not publicly making statements. There's some that are privately making statements, and I guess it takes all kinds of advocacy. But to have that dissonance of forward facing and private facing is hard. So for me, Lidditch chooses love. I mean, they're doing
Shout out to LCL.
They're doing things differently.
Word.
Their origin story is absolutely breathtaking. I am really here for them, so they will not be participating. I would trust them. And Lancaster Friends School is not participating this year. They are a brand new school. So they've got a lot of work to do, but from their founding, justice is part of their values from their very beginning. And why that's so important is it means that all of us can find a place there, and that we know that they have a commitment from their origin to do better every year, to include, and they're doing a bang up job. So those are the two orgs I'm giving to, and then I'm going to give to my friend Ann, who's having car problems. So I'm going to put up a GoFundMe for Ann.
Shout out to those orgs, all those orgs. You can check them out and donate, and make sure you could donate to the Leon Block. In 4 days, we're going to be celebrating our 1 year anniversary of being around. So you can always donate to us, and you can find the link right there at the bottom of your screen. Definitely shout out to Lidditch Chooses Love. Parker Webb from Lidditch Chooses Love is always on the show, so shout out to them. They definitely are doing their thing. So yes, there are organizations out there that you can donate to that are definitely worthy of your time and understanding, and are very transparent, open with what they do with that, and you can see it in the proof of their pudding. So one more thing, Eric, what advice would you give to people in other cities going through similar situations?
I don't know. Godspeed. What would I would say, I don't know. I'd say don't be afraid to do it your own way. you know, a lot of people tell me I'm not doing it the right way. And you know what? They're right. I'm not doing it the right way. I don't know what way to do it. I'm doing it my way. And I'm fine with that because for two reasons. Number one, the old way hasn't done much. It hasn't done enough. I don't know what those ways were, but look where we are. We're still here. And number two, you know, we each have our own gifts. And so just trust who you are and trust your voice. You know, I got to be very clear. There were people advocating about the extra give before I was, and I am not working alone. I mean, this year is remarkable. So many people like you, Jay, so many, like really a significant number of people. I posted today that like sometimes we stir the pot with a teaspoon until we get our ladle.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a real saying. I came up with it in the car today. I wasn't stoned. And I just want to say, like, I think it's true. So many people have come together to make that ladle. So my advice is like, do you save the receipts?
Yes.
If you're gonna agitate on social media, my number one tip is make sure you put stuff in the review section first, because they can block you from commenting, but they can't block you from an existing review. That's a real good tip in my opinion. If you ever want to know things that I've said about orcs on social media, just go to the review section. They cannot delete that away unless they delete all the reviews, which Bible School did, but that's fine. Go on.
Interesting. Nah. Like, is there? So we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
Is there any other things you want people to know? You want to touch on feelings that you have, opinions? Call it out. Let them know. Let's get it.
All right. I want you to know that I don't work alone, and that I'm so grateful, particularly for the allies and friends that I've met during the pandemic. Shout out to all of them. I'm not going to try to name them. I want people to know that I do my best to make sure that it's clear that I want my work to be intersectional, and that that when I'm naming problems with the LGBTQ community, I want people to know that we know that the most vulnerable members of our community are Black, brown, trans, gender non-conforming. We need to make sure that we uplift those people and we don't leave them behind. I want people to know that Leadership Lancaster needs to be called out for graduating. I won't call him a white supremacist, but he edited a book with a white supremacist that is published here in Lancaster County and is in our schools, that the Daily Beast called out a year after I did, and yet Lancaster still doesn't want to talk about it. Want to talk about that sometime. And to call me out. I want you to call me out.
Yeah. If there's any information that conflicts.
Yeah, or if I still need to learn and grow. And you know, the tightest people the people I'm tightest with in Lancaster now, 5 years into having moved home, are people that I've had really rough moments with, where like we didn't see things eye to eye. Maybe we just stopped talking and then we came back together. I need to be challenged. Right. And sometimes I shut down, but I always get back up again. And so should you. Yeah.
It's always important to hold yourself accountable as well, and just throw yourself out there. If you have an inkling, you got your gut feeling, and you just sniffing around and you notice something ain't right, call people out, let people know. Other people might be feeling the same way, and that's what can lead to real change. But don't sit there and do the same thing all the time. You're not gonna have different results. You're gonna have the same outcome, and I'm learning that myself. I'm practicing when I'm preaching here. So we all should make sure that we're doing that. That is, I think, one of the purposes of this table talk, this chat, is that's part of what community is about. We're not perfect, but we're here. We're coming to the table, and again, we're queer. I love you, man. Is there anything else you want to say?
Thank you. Have me back again. And I really want listeners, like if they heard something problematic, I really want them to reach out.
Yes.
I'll follow the comment strand, reach out to me.
Yes.
Thank you.
If you have any questions or concerns, definitely reach out to the Leon Block, reach out to Eric. Let us know how you feel. Let us know if you come up with any further information to further help us understand even whatever your point of view is, really. And always make sure you like and subscribe, follow, donate, share, do y'all thing. We really appreciate it. I really thank you, really appreciate you for tuning in to the Leon Block. Make sure, as always, that you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm Jontel. Arm yourself with knowledge and have a blessed journey.